I am privileged, incredibly privileged. I'm privileged to live in the society, in the world, in the time that I do. I was just, this past Thanksgiving, I was going to go to was planning to go to a Thanksgiving party. And before the party, I was at a little shop and listening to the radio, and an advertisement came on. The advertisement was for a 0-calorie soft drink. And they're talking about how wonderful it is that this soft drink has 0 calories in it. And I thought, my God, living things, even human beings, for hundreds of thousands of years were occupied by trying to get calories, in the most efficient ways to be able to get calories to survive. And here we are, have advanced to such a degree that now the ability to take out calories, we're suffering from too many calories. And just that's a problem, and that we've even found a solution to that. How lucky are we? How fortunate, privileged are we to live in a society like that? Also, to think that I am the result of millions of years of living things successfully passing on their genes, and a couple 100,000 years at least of modern humans. And even before that, I'm sure that there were human-like things that my ancestors, who were intelligent enough to understand the hardship and the tragedy of the world, surviving floods and comet strikes and fires and famines and droughts, and seeing their children die, and seeing their civilization be threatened, and working hard and building on generation after generation after generation successes and failures, and innovating and saving things and building and building and building until we have what we have today. I'm so thankful and privileged to be born at this time, at the peak of the result of all of their striving and struggling and saving and creating. We're all so privileged. And I went to the Thanksgiving dinner, and there's a little time before we all sit to eat, and everyone was sort of just like, okay, let's eat. And I said, well, hold on a minute. I just want to express how thankful I am. Basically what I just sort of said there. And everyone was sort of like, okay, well, let's eat. They don't really, I don't think, people don't generally, recognize how amazing that is. Just amazing. And I'm very privileged, and I'm so fortunate. My whole life, even when I was a kid, I never took for granted. I was always interested in ancient civilizations, and I never took for granted how fortunate I was, even when I was young, that, even when I was young, about how fortunate we were to live with modern medicine and an abundance of food, and I was aware of that, There was a time that I was living in Seattle in a small little, tiny little apartment that didn't even have a shower in the apartment. There was like a communal shower. You had to walk down the hall. And a friend came over, and they're like, wow, man, you're living like really Spartan-like, And I was like, what are you talking about, man? I've got this machine. I can adjust a dial, and it adjusts the environment in my room. I have another machine that I can call to people all around the world. I can check for information on any topic that I want. I've got a machine that keeps my food cold, and I have a near unlimited amount of food that I can provide for myself with very, very little effort. I was like, what, really? Man, I'm living large. I told them that, and they thought it was funny or whatever, but it's true. And just the other day, I was with my wife and son. We were eating at a buffet dinner in an air-conditioned room in a giant shopping complex with music playing and a huge assortment of food, vegetables, fruits, just all there. And my son was eating all this pineapple, and he wanted to have some pudding. And I was like, yeah, have a pudding, have two puddings. Just to be able for a father to see his son, my family, my wife and son, just have all the food that they would want, and in this super comfortable environment. And all of this for a fraction of what it takes for me, to earn my living, to be able to provide this. It's just so fortunate, so fortunate. And this, I love being reminded of how privileged I am like this. But if I know you, and we're going to have a conversation about our worldviews and how we see the world, and you would like to bring up the fact that people who look like me have a little bit more of this one thing than people that look like somebody else, and then so our conversation is going, I'm going to have to then somehow accept that my opinion is less valuable in the conversation because of how I was born, and you're going to use it as a cudgel to try to gain dominance over a meeting of the minds and a sharing of opinions, especially amongst friends, man, then I'm sorry, but I'm not playing that game, If you would like to stand with me and talk about how fortunate we are, and how there are other people who are less fortunate, and what we can do to try to help people who really are born with, less opportunity, or maybe they don't have enough food to eat or access to medicine or something. Let's talk about that. But I'm not going to play your game where my ideas don't matter as much as somebody else's ideas because I look a certain way, or I'm not playing that game. So save it. But let's talk about what we can do so that all humans have an access to the abundant food and medicine and fuel and clothing and housing that we could easily provide for all of our fellow human beings on the planet. Thank you.